leading experts and organizations across the country, they doubt Oklahoma and quite honestly are being a little disrespectful in some of their rankings for specific position rooms across the country. And today we got to talk about On3 being completely disrespectful to the Oklahoma's wide receiver core. Wait till you all see who they had ranked above Oklahoma. But before we dive into it, before we discuss it, I want to hear from y'all because I think Oklahoma has a major advantage with this room. And I want to know if you guys think the same thing. So jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts and your opinions. Real quick, though, a quick plug. I've started a Thunder podcast called the Thunder Up Podcast. I'm going to be commenting from that channel below and pinning it in the comments. So jump over there and subscribe for me if you like Thunder content. We're going to have Thunder insiders and other people on as well. So I am excited to get this launched, up and started, ready to go. And I want you all to be a part of it as well. Of course, if you like Thunder content. Now, for the Oklahoma Sooners. Yeah, On3 not being favorable to Oklahoma in some of these rankings, but this specific ranking sheet, it shocked me. Like, I was mind blown when I saw this, and I think it's extremely disrespectful. When you look at the best wide receiver rooms in the country, look at some of the teams they have above Oklahoma. An LSU team who lost several guys to the NFL draft, a Miami team that, I mean, come on. Really? Come on. Georgia, I mean, they got tight ends. Do they have the wide receiver core to be that great? I know they got a couple guys through the transfer portal. I have not seen Georgia utilize their wide receivers like that. You know what I mean? Like, and are we going to be sure that Carson Beck is going to continue to do it at Georgia? I don't know. We'll see. But some of the wide receiver rooms that are above Oklahoma, I agree with. Like Ohio State, probably, there is no probably. They are the best wide receiver core in the country. They lost Marvin Harrison Jr., but they got the number one player in the country, the number one wide receiver in the country last year, in Jeremiah Smith. And let me tell you, that dude, he going to be a problem for anybody. Not to mention, they also got a former five-star wide receiver in Mylan Graham. And when you look at their roster up and down the board, although they lost Marvin Harrison Jr., they're returning Emeka Egbuka, who is a guy that we originally were in the running for at Oklahoma. Julian Fleming, Carnell Tate, all those guys were five-star wide receivers. So no doubt, Ohio State number one. Oregon at number two. I don't know if I have Oregon that high, and I don't know if they're even in the top five for me. They're returning Tez Johnson, who had 1,100 yards, but I think that's about it when you look at wide receiver production. Like Trayson Holden is returning. Like he got 452 yards for him, but like that's it. So Oregon, not 100% sold on being as high as they have them. Texas, man, doesn't the media just love Texas? And we're going to dive into the Oklahoma roster here in a second, but they have five stars and DeAndre Moore Jr. and Jonte Cook, Ryan Wingo, Isaiah Bond transferring in, Parker Livingston. But don't you notice how they're riding on potential, not production? Like Isaiah Bond was really good. They hopefully are going to get back, I think, Isaiah Nayer this year. 6'3", 215 pound. When he was at Wyoming, 878 yards. He had 12 touchdowns there. So Texas's room is probably a top 5 wide receiver room, but is it better than Oklahoma's? Again, because when I look at Oklahoma's room, it is returning high-end production. And we're about to, I promise you, we're going to dive into it. But then I see Missouri up there. And okay, here's the problem with that. Missouri has Brady Cook, who had, 3,300 yards last year, 66% completion percentage. I'm not sure a lot of people believe Brady Cook can do that again. Like, we got to see Brady Cook do that again. And he only threw 21 touchdown passes to his wide receiver core. And his wide receiver core has Luther Burden in it. One of, if not the best wide receivers in the country this year. You also got the Weiss returning, who had 682 yards, Mookie Cooper. But again, like that wide receiver core, it didn't have two 1,100-yard wide receivers last year like Oregon, right? Like it just had one guy that had 1,200 yards who does a lot of things for you in Luther Burden, and then like one guy above 500, and the rest were sub 500. So Missouri might be a top 5 room, but I don't think they're better than Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma has the second best room in the country. Here's why. Well, look at the production. You lost Drake Stoops to the NFL. You're returning Nic Anderson, probably one of the best wide receivers, if not top 3 wide receivers in the country. He had 10 receiving touchdowns last year, 798 yards. Like Nic Anderson's going for 1,000+ yards this year. They've got Jalil Farooq coming back. I'm assuming he'll be good from the injury. Andrel Anthony, who was leading the team in receiving yards before he got hurt, he will be back this year. And if he puts it together, he's a first-round wide receiver talent. Jaden Gibson, another guy, 375 yards last year. He's got the size, 5 receiving touchdowns. Brennan Thompson's a deep threat. He had 241 receiving yards. And that's not even talking about what Oklahoma brought in on the recruiting trail, which we're not even going to dive into that talent because that's unproven talent. And, you know, when I'm talking about this list, I'm not a fan of unproven talent. I'm not saying unproven talent should get you up on the rankings. But Oklahoma brings in a transfer portal wide receiver in Deion Burks, who is probably going to be a huge advantage for Oklahoma against anybody they play. Deion Burks, in his last year just at Purdue, let's just talk about last year. 47 receptions, 629 yards, 7 touchdowns. Like Deion Burks is going to be able to play that Drake Stoops role, and he is going to potentially be if not the number 1 wide receiver, the number 2. I think that's going to vary between Nic Anderson and Deion Burks depending on the matchups and the game. But my goodness, Deion Burks is probably a first-round wide receiver. Oklahoma probably has 2 to 3 first-round wide receivers on this team this year. I just want you to think about that. 2 to 3 first-round wide receivers. Ohio State has that, and they're number 1. They have Oklahoma at number 9. It's disrespectful. It is absolutely disrespectful. And I get it, tight end-wise, but tight ends aren't wide receivers. It shouldn't count. So Texas is too high. Ole Miss is too high. Georgia's, all of these teams above Oklahoma, the only one that I can really say without the shadow of a doubt is better than Oklahoma is Ohio State. I don't know if you guys agree with me there. But for the experts to continue to dog on Oklahoma and act like some of these position rooms, which we got a whole nother video coming on the safety room, I think that was absolutely disrespectful. I was kind of infuriated with that one. These experts apparently don't watch Oklahoma football. It's that obvious. So, guys, I want to hear from y'all. So jump in the comments below, join the discussion. Let me know what you guys think because Oklahoma's being disrespected in these rankings, and I cannot wait for them to show out on the field this season and to make all these experts look wrong. If you made it this far and you have not already, hit that like and hit that subscribe button.